I've been married to Sarah for 4.5 years, working as a sales manager at a medical device company. Our relationship started strong with great communication, and over time, our connection only deepened. Like any couple, we'd have occasional disagreements, but nothing we couldn't work through. We learned to respect each other's opinions and give each other space when needed. One thing I've always valued about our marriage is our intimate connection. Despite my busy schedule managing corporate accounts and overseeing a sales team, we maintained a healthy physical relationship that kept us emotionally close. Even with long hours at the office, I made sure to keep our Friday date nights sacred. It was something we both looked forward to, a chance to reconnect and focus just on each other. Professionally, I've been putting in extra effort at work, especially since Sarah has been out of work for almost 2 years now. She used to be a nurse at Memorial Hospital, but had to take a break after experiencing burnout from the intense pressures of the job. When she first left nursing, I'll admit it was challenging. I had to take on more responsibility at work and manage our expenses carefully. There were nights I'd lie awake wondering how long we could maintain our lifestyle on just my income. But thankfully, my hard work paid off, and we reached a more stable financial position. Sarah has made several attempts to return to nursing, but each time she's been held back by anxiety and self-doubt. Over time, she's settled into being a stay-at-home wife, though she occasionally picks up freelance caregiving work. Her income from these jobs isn't significant compared to her former nursing salary. Since we don't have children, Sarah's daily routine mainly involves managing our household. She's dedicated to keeping our home organized, but spends a lot of time watching TV shows and scrolling through social media. I've often encouraged her to get out more, maybe meet up with her former nursing colleagues or join a gym for some exercise, but she rarely took me up on these suggestions. I could see how her self-esteem had taken a hit since leaving nursing, but I wasn't sure how to help her regain her confidence. At home. Evening of crisis. One evening, after a long day of client meetings, I came home to find Sarah in complete distress. She was sitting on our bedroom floor, surrounded by clothes scattered everywhere, tears streaming down her face. My heart dropped at the sight. I rushed to her side, kneeling beside her as I asked what was wrong. She just pointed silently at the pile of clothes, most of which had been angrily thrown from her wardrobe. Through her sobs, she finally managed to explain that none of her nurse uniforms or regular clothes fit anymore. She could barely look at me as she admitted that she didn't even recognize herself in the mirror. The weight gain since leaving nursing had finally hit her hard. "I used to be so active at work," she choked out between sobs, "always on my feet, helping patients. Now look at me. I've let myself go completely." I tried my best to comfort her, wrapping my arms around her shoulders. "Sarah, honey, you're still the same amazing woman I married. Your worth isn't measured by your size or your job title." Hoping to help, I suggested we could go shopping together for new clothes that would make her feel comfortable and confident. But my well-intentioned suggestion only made things worse. Sarah's crying intensified, and she pulled away from me. "You don't understand, Michael," she cried out, her voice breaking. "I don't want new clothes. I don't want to accept this version of myself. I want to be the nurse I used to be, the woman you married. Not this." The pain in her voice was unbearable. I realized this wasn't just about clothes or appearance. It was about her identity, her sense of self-worth, everything she'd lost since leaving nursing. The turning point. That night, after Sarah had calmed down somewhat, I sat with her on our bed and suggested we tackle this together. "What if we start with small changes?" I proposed, my voice gentle but encouraging. "We could wake up early and go for morning runs together. I know my sales territory routes have some beautiful paths we could explore. I also brought up the idea of cleaning up our eating habits. I've noticed we've been relying a lot on takeout and convenience foods lately. Maybe we could start cooking healthy meals together, I suggested, thinking about the untouched collection of healthy recipe books gathering dust in our kitchen. Sarah seemed hesitant at first, wiping away the last of her tears with the sleeve of her oversized sweater. The vulnerability in her eyes made my heart ache. I don't know, Michael, she whispered. What if I fail at this too, just like I failed at going back to nursing? This isn't about succeeding or failing, I assured her, taking her hand in mine. It's about making small changes together, one day at a time. And I'll be right here with you every step of the way. After some gentle encouragement and discussion, Sarah finally agreed to give it a try. I could see a tiny spark of hope in her eyes, something I hadn't seen in months. The transformation begins. Over the next several months, we completely transformed our lifestyle together. The early days were challenging, especially for Sarah. I'd often hear her grumbling as our alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. for our morning runs, but she'd still get up and put on her running shoes. I admired her determination, even on the days when she could barely jog for 5 minutes without stopping. As the weeks progressed, Sarah began to find her rhythm. Her stamina improved, and I noticed small changes in her confidence. She started planning our healthy meals, researching nutrition, and even created a little workout corner in our spare room with resistance bands and yoga mats. 2 months later, then about 2 months ago, Sarah took a significant step and joined Elite Fitness Center. While my long hours managing medical device sales prevented me from joining her at the gym, I was incredibly proud of her initiative. She seemed stronger and more confident with each passing day. I watched her transform into someone more outgoing and self-assured. She started going out more frequently, made new friends at the gym, and even began experimenting with her appearance, buying new workout clothes and trying different hairstyles. The celebration dinner. When I received a promotion to regional sales manager, I wanted to celebrate this milestone with Sarah. The promotion meant greater financial security for our future, so I planned a special evening at Le Bistro, the upscale French restaurant where we had our first anniversary. During dinner, I brought up something we'd always planned for our future: starting a family. Sarah, I said, reaching across the table to hold her hand, I think we're finally in the perfect position to start trying for a baby. With this promotion, I can adjust my schedule to be more present at home. We could turn that workout room into a nursery. I expected to see excitement in her eyes. After all, she'd always talked about wanting to be a mother. But as soon as I mentioned it, her expression changed. The vibrant energy she'd had all evening seemed to drain away, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. She withdrew her hand from mine and began pushing food around her plate. Sarah, I prompted gently, concerned by her reaction. What's wrong? I thought this was what we wanted. She kept her eyes fixed on her plate as she spoke. I don't think this is the right time for kids, Michael. We should enjoy our freedom while we're young. Maybe in a few more years. When I tried to understand her sudden change of heart, she became defensive and changed the subject. Though my heart felt heavy, I assured her we could table the discussion for now. But looking back, I realized this was the first sign that something was seriously wrong in our marriage. Growing distance. Over the following weeks, I noticed Sarah becoming increasingly distant. It wasn't an immediate change, but rather a gradual shift that became more apparent each day. She stopped having dinner with me, claiming she'd already eaten earlier after her gym sessions. Our bedroom dynamic changed, too. Instead of our usual evening conversations, she'd spend hours in bed scrolling through her phone, or watching shows on her tablet, barely acknowledging my presence. Most concerning was how she began skipping our sacred Friday date nights. "I already made plans with my gym friends," became her standard excuse. "I can't cancel on them now." While I wanted to support her newfound social life and confidence, the growing distance between us was becoming painful. The concerning night. Then came the night that changed everything. Sarah had gone out with her gym friends as usual, typically returning home by 11 o'clock. If she ever ran late, she'd always text me. But this time was different. As the clock ticked past 11:30, I tried calling her phone, only to reach voicemail. With each passing hour, my anxiety grew. I couldn't sleep, instead pacing our living room, checking my phone every few minutes. At 1:30 a.m., our doorbell finally rang. I rushed downstairs, my heart pounding. When I opened the door, the sight before me made my blood run cold. Sarah was barely conscious, leaning heavily against a young man I'd never seen before. She reeked of alcohol, her designer workout clothes disheveled, her eyes unfocused. Behind them stood a small group of people, all appearing to be in their early 20s. "Sorry about this," the man supporting Sarah said, carefully maneuvering her onto our sofa where she immediately passed out. "I'm Brandon. We're all from Elite Fitness. It was Maya's birthday, and we might have partied a bit too hard." The confrontation. The next morning, I waited in our kitchen, 2 cups of coffee on the counter, as Sarah stumbled in, still wearing last night's clothes. Her makeup was smeared, and she winced at the morning light streaming through our windows. I noticed how her expensive new workout outfit, something she'd bought without discussing it with me, was wrinkled from sleeping on the couch. "We need to talk about last night," I said, keeping my voice calm despite the worry and anger churning inside me. "What happened?" "This isn't like you, Sarah." She grabbed the coffee, avoiding my eyes. "God, Michael, don't make such a big deal out of it. I just had a few too many drinks with my friends. It's embarrassing enough without you interrogating me." "A few drinks?" "You could barely walk," I pressed, my medical sales background making me especially concerned. "Was there any chance someone tampered with your drinks? Took advantage of the situation?" Sarah rolled her eyes, an expression I'd never seen from her before. "Stop being so paranoid. My friends wouldn't do that. I just lost track of how much I was drinking. I wanted to fit in." "Fit in?" I echoed, struggling to understand. "Fit in with people 10 years younger than us? Is that why you never want me to meet these gym friends of yours?" Her face hardened. "It's not mandatory for you to meet everyone in my life, Michael. You're not my father." She paused, then added with a defensive tone, "Besides, they're the only ones at Elite Fitness who actually welcomed me. You have no idea how hard it is to make friends there when you're—" She trailed off, but I could fill in the blank. "When you're older, when you're starting over." The admission stunned me. This was the first time she'd hinted at feeling insecure about the age gap between her and her new friends. But instead of opening up further, she became more defensive. Escalating behavior. After that morning's confrontation, Sarah's behavior became even more concerning. Now that she'd admitted to drinking with her gym friends, she stopped trying to hide it. She started wearing increasingly revealing workout outfits, expensive designer athletic wear that hugged every curve of her now toned body. I barely recognized her in the tight crop tops and compression leggings that seemed to get shorter each week. Her late nights became more frequent, and she'd stumble home in the early hours, always completely intoxicated. As a medical sales professional who regularly dealt with hospitals, seeing her consistently drunk was particularly disturbing. The apartment began to suffer too. Our once organized home fell into disarray. The fridge remained empty because she'd stopped grocery shopping, and the laundry piled up. Between managing my sales team and our household, I was stretching myself thin. The friend's warning. Overwhelmed, I confided in David, my colleague from the medical device company, during our lunch break. I detailed everything: Sarah's late nights, her neglect of our home, and the growing emotional distance between us. Instead of the sympathy I expected, David's face grew serious. "Michael," he said, putting down his fork, "I hate to say this, but these are major red flags. You're so focused on seeing the best in Sarah that you're missing what's right in front of you. Have you considered that she might be cheating?" The suggestion hit me like a physical blow. Despite all the changes in Sarah's behavior, infidelity hadn't crossed my mind. But as David's words sank in, pieces started falling into place. Her constant phone use, the secretive behavior, the late nights with gym friends I'd never met. The investigation. That night, I paid closer attention to Sarah's behavior. Her attachment to her phone was obvious now that I was looking for it. She was constantly texting, but would quickly switch apps or turn the screen away whenever I came near. Each notification sound made her jump slightly, and she'd rush to check it, a small smile playing on her lips. When she passed out on our bed that night, drunk as usual from another evening out, I made my decision. My hands trembling, I took her phone from her designer gym bag, another recent expensive purchase. I retreated to our home office, my heart pounding so loud I worried it might wake her. The first challenge was her password. Sarah had recently changed it, and I didn't know the new one. I tried our anniversary date. Nothing. Our wedding date. Still nothing. Then, remembering how close she'd always been to her mother, I tried Linda's birthday. The phone unlocked. Discovery of betrayal. With shaking fingers, I began scrolling through her messages. Most seemed innocent at first. Group chats about gym sessions and workout plans. Then I found the conversations with Brandon, the young trainer who'd helped carry her home that night. The messages started professionally enough, discussing training schedules and nutrition plans. But as I scrolled back further, the tone changed dramatically. The texts became flirtatious, then explicit. There were intimate photos exchanged and messages planning their private sessions, not at the gym, but at the Red Pine Motel off Highway 27. Their most recent exchange made my stomach turn. They were planning to meet tomorrow, scheduling what they called their usual fun time. My hands shaking, I used my own phone to photograph the incriminating messages. As a sales manager used to documenting everything, I knew I needed evidence. But each screenshot felt like another stab to my heart. The trust I had in Sarah, my wife of 4.5 years, was shattering with each swipe of my finger. The confrontation. The next day, I left the medical device company's office early, telling my team I had a family emergency. I drove to the Red Pine Motel, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I parked in a spot with a clear view of the entrance, my years of planning sales territory coverage helping me choose the perfect surveillance position. Right on schedule, I saw Sarah's car pull into the parking lot, followed shortly by Brandon's sleek sports car. My wife emerged wearing one of her new expensive workout outfits, her hair perfectly styled. They were laughing as they walked to the motel room, completely oblivious to my presence. I took photos with my phone, my sales training and documentation coming in handy even in this painful moment. After about an hour, they emerged. Sarah's carefully styled hair was now disheveled, her face flushed with what I recognized as post-workout satisfaction. Except this wasn't from any gym session. The sight made my blood boil. I got out of my car, phone recording everything. "Sarah," I called out, my voice echoing across the parking lot. She froze mid-step, her face draining of color as she recognized my voice. Brandon stood there, looking terrified, a far cry from his confident trainer persona at Elite Fitness. The confrontation escalates. In that moment, all my professional composure vanished. Years of maintaining a calm demeanor during difficult sales negotiations meant nothing. I unleashed every insult I could think of, my voice growing hoarse with emotion. "You can have her," I spat at Brandon. "Have fun with my cheating wife." Hope the gym membership was worth it. Sarah ran after me, tears streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. "Michael, please." "I can explain." But I was already getting into my car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the keys. I'd seen enough presentations in my career to know when something was genuine or fake, and her tears looked as practiced as my sales pitches. The aftermath. I raced home, beating Sarah there, and quickly packed essentials from our once shared bedroom, clothes, toiletries, and important documents I'd need as a regional sales manager. I grabbed my laptop containing all my medical device presentations and client files, knowing I'd need to stay professional at work despite my personal life falling apart. At a nearby Marriott hotel, where I'd often stayed during sales conferences, I made a decision fueled by hurt and several glasses of bourbon from the minibar. I posted the video of the motel confrontation on Facebook, wanting everyone to see the truth about my wife's infidelity. The next morning, I woke up to countless notifications on my phone, missed calls from colleagues, family members, and of course, Sarah. Still nursing a hangover, I decided to call my parents first. My father, Robert, answered with concern in his voice. As I explained everything, he expressed complete shock that Sarah would betray me like this and offered his full support. The mother's reaction. But when I called my mother, Linda, her response was unexpectedly different. While acknowledging my pain, she suggested I should think things through with a clearer head. Her words caught me off guard. "She's still your wife, Michael," Linda said softly. "Family is family, no matter what." "Family?" I scoffed, my voice bitter. "She cheated on me, Mom," with a trainer young enough to be her student back when she was still nursing. "Sometimes, accidents like this can happen in a family," my mother replied hesitantly. "Not everything is black and white in marriage." Her choice of words struck me as odd. "What do you mean by accident?" I pressed, my years of reading people during sales negotiations making me sensitive to such verbal nuances. An unsettling conversation. My mother's response was evasive. "People can't always stay loyal in their marriages for a long time. Sometimes, mistakes happen." Her words and hesitation raised red flags, the same kind I'd learned to spot during contract negotiations. "Mom," I said slowly, my throat tightening, "have you ever cheated on Dad?" The silence that followed was deafening. My mother's lack of response sent my mind spinning with uncomfortable possibilities. As a sales manager who prided himself on reading people and situations accurately, this revelation about my own family blindsided me. The DNA test decision. After that conversation, disturbing thoughts plagued me. My mother's unusual reaction to Sarah's infidelity and her cryptic comments about marriage loyalty kept replaying in my mind. Drawing on my professional experience of investigating discrepancies in sales reports, I decided to apply that same analytical approach to my personal life. I scheduled a DNA test at a local clinic, the same methodical planning I used for client meetings now being applied to uncover potential family secrets. When my father asked about joining me for the appointment, I used my sales skills to craft a careful explanation. "Dad, I'm checking for any genetic health risks that might run in the family," I explained. the same smooth delivery I used in client presentations. "No need to worry, Mom, about it until we have the results." He agreed without question, his trust in me as absolute as it had been for the past 34 years. The guilt of deceiving him weighed heavily on me. But as with my most challenging sales negotiations, sometimes the truth required careful handling. The truth revealed. The DNA test results arrived while I was preparing for a major client presentation. The moment I opened the email, my world shifted on its axis. I wasn't biologically related to my father. My hands shook as I abandoned my sales reports and drove straight to my parents' house, the familiar suburban streets now feeling alien. When I showed the results, my father's eyes widened in shock. My mother, Linda, went pale, her composed facade crumbling. After initial denials, she finally broke down in tears and admitted to an affair 35 years ago. "I got pregnant during the affair," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper in their living room. "Since I was intimate with both men, I prayed you were Robert's. But when you were born with brown hair instead of blonde like ours, I suspected." She revealed how she'd quickly ended the affair to save her marriage, keeping the secret buried for over 3 decades. My father, who'd never questioned my parentage, sat in stunned silence, his trust in his wife of 35 years shattered, just as mine had been with Sarah. The aftermath. My father and I checked into my hotel room together, both of us now betrayed by the women we loved. He barely spoke, processing 35 years of deception. As a son and a sales manager who valued truth and integrity above all, I found myself in the unique position of understanding exactly what he was going through. Our parallel experiences of betrayal, creating a new bond between us. 1 month later. In the aftermath of these revelations, my father has remained a pillar of strength. During a quiet dinner at my hotel room, over takeout from his favorite steakhouse, he made his position clear. "DNA test or not, you're my son, Michael," he said firmly, his voice carrying the same certainty I use when closing major medical device contracts. "That will never change." While his love for me hasn't wavered, his feelings toward my mother have completely shattered. He asked her to move out of their home of 30 years, remaining unmoved by her tearful pleas. She's now staying with her sister, while I've maintained my distance, unable to face her deception. Professional and personal resolution. The divorce proceedings are moving forward on both fronts. Sarah was served with divorce papers and asked to vacate our apartment. In a move that reminded me of difficult client negotiations gone wrong, she showed up at my office, causing a scene in front of my medical device sales team. "Sarah," I said firmly, using my professional voice, "if you ever come to my workplace again, I'll get a restraining order." I've temporarily removed the motel confrontation video from Facebook, storing it securely with other evidence for the divorce proceedings. My lawyer assures me that her infidelity means I won't have to pay alimony. A small consolation, but a practical one. My father and I are focusing on healing, finding strength in our shared experience. During our regular dinners together, we're slowly rebuilding our lives. 2 men betrayed by the women they trusted most, but determined to move forward with the same resilience I've learned to cultivate in my professional life.